Long have I been a Pokemon fan, plowing through the generations, but it all started with this game right here. Even though I could never beat it, and this is not my childhood copy. But a while back I had a hankering for this 2.3 inch by 2.6 inch high helping of Generation 1, but my instinct was to go to an emulator like I have in recent times and use the speed up function or save states, all on a fancy bright screen. But when I did that I felt hollow. No connection, no nostalgia, just boredom. But then by happenstance, I booted up the game on my electric blue boogaloo Game Boy Color, and I felt something. Mostly eye strain, but there was also this warm feeling in my heart of nostalgia. The Game Boy is a magnificent device, a 160 wide by 144 pixels tall screen with a curved back in whatever color tickles your fancy or makes your schoolyard friends jealous. It is the first handheld gaming device of any note, and it's still fascinating to me how this small cartridge and handheld could fixate the minds of children globally. So today I wanted to make a video on my experience playing through Generation 1 the right way. In 2025, we're going to go through all the good, the bad, and playing these games on original hardware, but this does mean I will be capturing footage on my camera, because there's no screen recording functionality on the Game Boy games, as they got rid of that feature for the American consumer. Anyway, shout out to my lamp, and shout out to this big, comfy old man chair that we're going to be sitting on for this entire video. Oh wait, scratch that. We'll sit on the floor. Now once I was locked and loaded with my new Energizers in the Game Boy, and not sponsored, I was ready to play the game as nature intended, right after I deleted my original save.
See you later, losers.
That being said, the first step is of course to listen to Professor Oak nag us, give our hero a name, extract the secret potion in the PC in our room that, trust me, will come in clutch very, very soon. Too soon, honestly. And talk to mommy about becoming a man. And next we walk outside and try to walk in the grass unsupervised. Then we get scolded for trying to play in the grass unsupervised.
Man, just let me live my life. Let me play in the grass.
And we pick up our very first Pokemon, and I picked up Bulbasaur as the first member of our team to make this early game easy. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's exactly why I chose Bulbasaur. Also, it's pretty crazy how early you get the starter in this game. It's only like 2 to 5 minutes, where a lot more modern games it can take almost like an hour to get your starter Pokemon. Anyways, I named our Bulbasaur Ash, not after Ketchum, after my fat cat who is named after the Ketchup Boy. We also named our rival after my lovable little chair stealer from earlier. This is Asti. And then we go into one of the most heart-pounding fights of this entire playthrough. After trading blows with the worst Generation 1 starter, we're forced to whip out that potion from earlier. I told you it would come in handy. And then almost immediately after using the potion, Ash gets crit by this little hothead.
That might be one of the hardest first battles I've ever had to do.
But we do narrowly make it through, and now it's time to truly start our adventure. After doing another chore for Professor Oak.
Goddamn old man making me do his chores again.
But now we've been playing for a bit, so good time to bring up some of the issues that are immediately apparent when playing on a Game Boy Color and Gen 1 in general. First, we have the positives, and that's you can play with one hand, or at least I can, which sounds a lot more nefarious than it should. It really just means I can play and cook dinner at the same time. But it also means we sacrifice good lighting from our trusty lamp. Also, I noticed pretty early on that the buttons on my Game Boy Color are really crunchy. I mean, just listen to this. It's kind of annoying, I probably need to replace it, but spoiler, I don't ever end up doing that. But now let's move on to Viridian City proper, where I forgot that there was no potions in the Pokemon, and are they trying to make me suffer? So we're gonna have to grind a bit to prepare for our next, already another rival fight, and this is probably the second hardest fight in this entire playthrough, as this Pokemon are fairly high level, and there's very few trainers that we get to level up on in this early area. I had to grind for about 30 minutes just in the grass, just for this fight. Also, I found out that I really have to turn off combat animations when I do grind a little bit, because again, it just adds so much more extra time. And this is where I definitely started to get a little antsy and tired in these late hours as I was playing. So I wondered, what would it be like to cheat and play on my fancy Game Boy Advance SP with a backlight? Yeah, that's right, I got the AGS 101, I'm cool. But I quickly learned that turning on the light actually flashbangs my iPhone camera, and it felt like cheating, just too much. So no Game Boy Advance, even if it makes your guy fat. That being said, back to our Game Boy Color, we narrowly beat our rival, and Ash levels up to level 13 and gets Vine Whip.
Yes, finally, a good move.
And with that good grass type move, we can finally schmooze our way through Viridian Forest to black out some rock type Pokemon in Brock's gym. And during the fight with Brock, we even got a crit on Onix, which was totally an overkill. But now that we've beaten Brock with complete ease, it's time to make our way through Route 3 and Mountain Moon, which brought up a whole new dilemma. Boredom and getting infinite wrapped by that bastard Ekans. Getting through this area was a real struggle, and also where I started to rely on Venom, the Nidoran, to use Horn Attack on every Zubat in sight.
Horn Attack and Poison Sting are so overpowered. Oh my god.
And this is frankly really where I wanted that speed up button so I could get through this faster. But no, we're not going back to that. We must get through this test of patience as intended, just like we did as kids. But it does end up being worth it because leveling up Ash gives us our precious Ivysaur. Also, I'm so glad that they put a Poke Center right before Mount Moon. Otherwise, this would have gotten even more tedious.
I think I grew a lot of extra hair on my chest after leaving Mount Moon.
You see me now, Mom? I'm no longer just a boy, a man. But once you arrive to Cerulean City and you think you're done grinding, nope! We have to grind through the entirety of Nugget Bridge to get up to the very top. And this is where the battle music really started to get on my nerves.
I gotta say, after like 2 hours or so playing this, the battle music gets it just gets absolutely great.
Also, while grinding at this point, I noticed that are all Game Boy Color buttons so offset on the buttons? Or am I crazy? The A and B are definitely not in the center. I guess I just didn't care to notice that before, but I did have pretty shit eyesight as a kid. Thanks, Mom. But after that, it's time to beat up Misty with my heart-shaped blankie.
Yes, I do have a heart blanket right now, and do not judge me. This thing is so freaking warm.
I also realized I never got footage of that battle, but I guess you'll just have to trust me that I beat her easily with Ash. But now our next stop is Vermilion and the hulking cruise ship, the SS Anne, which did not impress the real-life Ivysaur.
Not impressed.
And going through the SS Anne is just another test of patience, and all this battling did stress how important it is to take breaks when you're playing this game on original hardware to avoid fatigue. Another thing I had to do was catch some Pokemon to avoid the slog of only using Horn Attack and Vine Whip repeatedly, which again I did forget to get video of, which is another problem with using a camera for a video like this. There's no way to retroactively record things. But I swear I caught a Spearow named Rowan and I caught a Diglett named Doug Dimmadome, which I thought would be more helpful with Lieutenant Surge, but nope, we still have to horn our way to victory. Also, can we talk about how awful the Lieutenant Surge puzzle is without save states? I mean, this is sped up footage of me trying to get through it, but it took me about 3 minutes, which doesn't sound like a ton, but that's because I had already battled everyone in the area, and this could easily take much longer if you're unlucky. So save states can really trivialize this puzzle and a few more sections of later in this game. But after we're done in Vermilion, it's time to move our way to the Rock Tunnel, and this is another moment where I cave to the true experience and put on some YouTube videos in the background for some extra mental stimulation. Also, can we talk about how bad the PC GPU market is, dude? I mean, it's complete trash right now. Anyways, after that, we get to the Rock Tunnel and get the most egregious screen issue yet, and that's that Generation 1 caves really suck. And yeah, there's no super lamp of any kind in the world that will illuminate the darkness, so catching a Voltorb is required for Flash, which again I didn't show. And during playing through the Rock Tunnel with Flash enabled and just going through it, I did run into some personal issues.
Oh my god, Taco Bell is never worth it.
But this ended up causing me to quit playing the game for about 2 weeks. Not the diarrhea, just the boredom. I think I need to clarify that. But I didn't play the game and I moved on to some other stuff and video ideas. I realized while nostalgic, playing Generation 1 without modern conveniences does get tedious. And that's why it's important that we get more modern releases of this game. And I found myself just turning on the game when I was doing something else rather than playing the game while doing something else. And so much of the experience of Generation 1, especially early on, is battling and nothing but smacking Pokemon together. And there's a reason why later games do add more engaging stories and some side mission type activities to engage us players. And it's a reason why I think newer audiences don't really go back to Generation 1 and find that love for it. It's not really as timeless as a lot of other retro games, even on the Game Boy. And even Generation 2 adds a lot of things like an EXP bar for more brain chemicals after you beat a Pokemon, and more colors to bring new life into this game on this archaic handheld. But I wasn't sure if I would even make this video, and if people would even give a shit about how crunchy this video will probably turn out. Also, this lamp, I have some beef with this lamp now. It's really annoying to have it just looming over you the entire time. It's also annoying that you can only play this game during certain conditions. It's also why a lot of us probably played these games on road trips in the car when it was sunny out. But as soon as nighttime came around, you'd have to rely on a worm light, which I actually considered buying a worm light for this video because I don't have one anymore, but I forgot until I made this video, and then I bought a Nintendo 64, my first Nintendo 64, and also with Pokemon Stadium, which does let you play this game if you have the transfer pack, which is pretty rad. But after all this, I really did just kind of give up, and that's the end of the video. Except there was one other thing that in the back of my mind just kept me going for at least one more session. And yep, it just didn't sit right to end our video before going to this iconic town and theme. And the Pokemon Tower does have one of the few moments in this game that really makes a kid think about life, death, good versus evil, and it's a pretty memorable part of this game. So I'm glad I at least did stick around it for this video. Wheel, that's it. That's the end of our journey. I don't know if I'll ever finish this experience or not and play through the rest of the game, but if you did like this weirdo video, let me know and I'll probably be a little bit more motivated to actually keep going. I did have fun actually putting this video together though. More fun than I thought, which is why you're still seeing this, as actually making the video was almost more fun than playing the game itself. And it's interesting to be reminded of all the issues Generation 1 had, all the bugs and all the tedium, the broken mechanics, some weird sprites are out there still in this game, and some of those problems really are eliminated by an emulator. But you can't really knock the people who developed this game because they really put their whole heart into it. Also, my batteries never died once, so shout out to Energizer. Please sponsor me. Also, just so you know, I don't give a shit how you decide to play this game. I'm not trying to sound like a purist for doing this. It's just a new way to torture myself with old technology. As this video seems like the antithesis of what YouTube likes, just a grown man playing Pokemon in his heart blinky, but it might be what we need a little bit more of. And if this doesn't do well, I know I at least have a couple dedicated fans and family members in the internet void who can enjoy this video, so hi Void. Do you like cranberries? I don't.